What's up everyone and welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. Jumping back into the trailer and on the front bed panel. Now, so last time we got this bed panel bent and welded up. Looks great. Now we're going to be filling in this weld here, smoothing it out. Going to be putting some Bondo in there. So as you can see, kind of have it set up and how we bent them. We got a little bit of a dip in between each piece, and then want to smooth out and make these welds look really nice. So I already did go ahead and grind down these welds. So made them nice and smooth to help out with the transition. And so I already have this stuff sanded and have the surface prepped. So now we're just ready to mix up and start spreading in the Bondo. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I have never worked with Bondo before, or any kind of body filler for that matter, or any kind of body work. So gonna be working on it. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned, it's gonna be fun. All right, so I'm just gonna use this frying pan as my mixing surface. Alright, well, I don't know if that hardener's any good or not. It's very watery, but let's give this a try. Alright, this first bit got a little bit hard on me because I wasn't quite sure about the hardener because it's really watery, because this is some old Bondo and stuff. So, I mean, this is hard, so it seems to still be working. So I think it's okay. But I just need to add a little bit more right here and then just kind of flush everything going down. But I was a little bit unsure when I was putting it on, so it took a little bit long. Alright, well, seemed a little bit better, but I'm just going to keep going at it. And this is our post application. So it was quite a learning curve right off the bat. And I don't know if it's just because this stuff is a little bit older and it's been sitting a while or what, but this was really, even starting out, it was really thick, and I learned that I could really only kind of spread it one time. So of course, I don't know if it's the age of this, because it was still a little bit thick coming out of the can. I don't know. But I was only able to just kind of spread it once, as I learned. Otherwise, you know, it'd start pulling up, you know, chunks of it and whatnot. But I don't think it's too bad to begin with. the first time giving it a shot. So now just going to take some 100 grit to it and just knock off the main bits to start with, and then just kind of shape it as we go and see where we get, and then we can go from there. Now that we're all sanded, doesn't look too bad. Filled in a lot of stuff. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some new stuff. I think just because this stuff is old, that it's really thick and was really not really pliable and didn't really coat too well and smoothly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some new stuff, and then we can put a thin coat on to finish out this and fill up our gaps, make it really nice and smooth, and then just try and sand it down. So I'm going to go get some more of that, and then we'll apply it. And this is our second coat of Bondo. So I can confirm that the Bondo itself was the issue. It was just too old. It had been sitting out in the heat for a while. So it had gotten a little bit hard. So, I mean, other than this spot, that got a little bit too hard when I was trying to put it on. But everything else came out really smooth. And I'm really liking how it's looking so far. And I know once this gets sanded, it'll look really good. So I'm going to let this cure, and then I'll start sanding. I did just go ahead and get this thing all sanded down, and it looks great. So maybe hard to see, and I did get these end caps sanded. So it looks really good. There are a few, tiny spots in there, but I think the primer will get that. I'll get those filled. So it shouldn't be too bad. Really nice and smooth. Really happy with it. And I mean, there are still some ridges and hills down there, but it is much, much better than it was. I think this is great, and I'm really happy with it. So now next thing you do is to get this metal right here stripped down. I think I'm just going to hit it with a flat disc. I want to get the mill scale off so I can go ahead and get this primed in. So that's what I'm going to do next. And we got everything sanded down. And I did end up just going with the orbital sander and 320 grit. So I got it all sanded and wiped down, and this is the setup that I have. So this is the bar, the all thread that we need to go through it all. So that'll work out just fine. Really works for this right here. So I just have that hanging from the trusses. So should be good to go. Have plenty of room. And here we have this all set up. Got our gun. We have the lacquer thinner. Got it already portioned out, so I don't have to pour it out of the big jug. I can just pour it straight into the container. So now let's get mixing up and get this thing painted. And here's our finished primed piece. So it looks okay. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to turn out after it's all sanded. I think I got pretty decent coverage, but this primer with the cheap Harbor Freight gun, it had issues spraying it because after a little bit, it would really start spraying on a vertical pattern. It would really concentrate up at the top and it'd really build up on the tip of the gun. So I honestly don't know how good this is. But once we get to sanding it, we'll be able to see. I mean, it doesn't look horrible though. Let me try and get, you can see how textured it is. So I'm not exactly sure how good this is going to be and whatnot, but only one way to find out. So now that we got this primed, we'll get it back on the table and start sanding it. So I actually need to go get some 320. We'll start out with 320 and just do 320 grit, dry sanding. Not going to wet sand it yet. We'll do that later. I'm just going to see how it does, smoothing it out, and then can go from there. Because I want to do all the wet sanding and stuff later once everything is ready, just so we can kind of tackle that, because they say you are supposed to, you know, if this sets for a while, sand again before you do the base coat. So I'm just going to get this ready to be wet sanded and then leave it be as I work on the other stuff. But I'm going to get to sand and see how this turns out. So now I'm just going to take my sanding block and 320 grit and see what kind of finish I can get on this. Knock down all this top bit and just really see what we're left with. So right off the bat, and this is only 2 passes, I can see that this is super spotty. So you can see that there's tons of holes in it. And I think I figured out why. The gun doesn't spray the primer very well, and it's because the tip is way too small. Not exactly sure what the tip size is on that gun, but I know what I just looked up and read is that it should be about a 1.9 millimeter tip. 1.8 to 1.9, something like that. And I know this one is definitely too small for it, which is probably why it got all the buildup and it was spraying horrible. So I'm going to have to look into getting that fixed, just so we can spray primer on everything else. But I'm still going to go at this and try to knock down all these high spots, and then we can take a look at it and might just be spraying primer again and try to get that fixed. So not exactly sure. I'm going to keep sanding at it and then I'll let you know. All right, guys, here's the final piece. And as you can see in a lot of spots, it is sanded through. And then in like this area, see if you can see it in the sun, it's really splotchy. So not ideal, that is for sure. But this is a learning experience. So what I'm going to do probably, and it looks about the same on the other side of it. You can't, it's dark, but it's a learning experience for me. You know, I've never done this before, so just trying to figure it out as I go and just, you know, learn and do on the fly. All we can do is adapt and overcome. So what I'm going to do is get something figured out with the gun, so that, or get a new gun or get a tip that can spray primer and just redo this. So this will be a good base coat for the primer to spray again once we get that sorted out. But it'll sit like this. I'm going to go ahead and start working on the other bed, or one of the other bed sides, and then I'll just spray this in when we're spraying the other one in. So just so we can tackle it at the same time, I think that'll be the best option for now. We'll see how it goes, but made good progress. I'm happy with the progress. You know, you live and you learn. It's what happens when you try something new. So, you know, minor setback, but really looking forward to getting this, you know, actually primed in right and sanded down and looking sweet and ready for the paint. But we have a long way to go before we get to there. I'm just glad to be at this point and happy to be learning and able to do this. So try something new, man. You'll learn a lot. Don't be scared of it. You can do it. Just try it. So thanks for watching. Stick around for the next one. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you.